Something I've noticed with fellow neurodivergents is this difficulty around saying no. And I think it's hardwired into us from years of living under structural ableism and internalizing that ableism and feeling like as a result we have to spend a lot of our lives people pleasing. Saying no is not attuning ourselves to other people's needs. Other people's needs come first. We do this fawn response of rolling over and showing our belly and giving people compliance because we don't want conflict to result or disappointment or that person to be angry or frustrated with us. And a lot of the times we've had people come at us angry and frustrated because we didn't address some hidden need that we couldn't intuit, And we struggle as a result the rest of our lives anticipating something's going to happen if we don't people please, if we don't say yes, if we don't give that person what they want, even if we can't figure out half the time what it is they want. That said, if you don't say no, if you don't use direct communication, it can leave the other person questioning what's going on here. Are they mad at me? Are they not interested in reciprocating or having an actual friendship? Are they giving me the brush off? And we all, as human beings, whether you're neurodivergent or neurotypical, we try to interpret other people's social behaviors to some extent. And this ambiguity can communicate a lot and it can communicate nothing at all. And that's where people get lost. I know I've been on the delivery end of that where I've done that to somebody. They invited me to go to a social thing or it was an open invitation and I wasn't required to say yes or no. I will say something vague like, sure, I'll let you know, or let me see how I feel. And that's not because I'm trying to be evasive, but because I don't know from day to day what my energy levels are going to be like and if I'm going to be feeling overwhelmed. And a lot of the day, just doing a lot of FaceTime with clients as a therapist, at the end of the day, I just don't have the energy to go to a social function and to engage. I'll go there, I'll be zoned out, flat face, no expression, disengaged, overwhelmed, and then frustrated, and I want to leave early anyway. So it's kind of pointless. And I do want to accept social invitations, and I do want to socially participate and spend time with acquaintances and friends, but I have to manage my energy levels. And as somebody who also has hypermobility, which is common among many neurodivergents, I get chronic fatigue, and so I just don't have the energy to do it at all. And I just don't know from day to day. But it's safe to say for me that during the working week, it's out. I can't do anything really socially, and I don't want to do anything socially. I just want to have my shower after work, crawl into bed, hang out with my dogs, go to sleep. That's where I know my energy levels are at. And so I've realized that if that is going to be my stable, known challenge, I'll be direct and upfront about that because I don't want to leave people in the lurch trying to anticipate, like, should I keep extending an invitation to this person if they're never going to be able to show up? You decline enough invitations and people are going to get a message, whether you intended to deliver it or not, that you're not interested or able to show up for them. And they'll decline to invite you anymore, and then they'll maybe distance themselves and stop making an effort and withdraw a little bit. And that friendship can kind of fade away as a result. I think it can be hard as a neurodivergent to have assertive communication, to state your needs explicitly. So a lot of us end up engaging sometimes in implicit communication. We imply things, we insinuate things, but we don't say it directly because that would be too aggressive, too assertive. It would be saying no. It would be shutting a door in somebody's face, and it would agitate, frustrate, anger somebody. So we're anticipating some negative reaction. We're walking on eggshells. So we might say, oh yeah, I'm not really sure of my plans right now. I'll get back to you. We'll make some kind of like weird flaky excuse. And I'll say, sure, I can do it. And then ghost or not show up or make an excuse at the last minute. And all these evasive maneuvers just frustrate and confound the other person. And it conveys an impression of this person is not reliable, right? If we can make the leap to use assertive communication and say, this isn't going to work for me because of this reason, then that's progress. And of course, there is some cognitive and emotional labor that goes into having to explain things to people. Like, hey, this is where my energy level is at. Sometimes they will try to even accommodate us, which it can work, and you can find a compromise and move forward and find, okay, I can accept this invitation, but these are the terms under which I'll accept it. I'll only go to this social gathering for an hour. Or we'll change the venue and go somewhere quieter and less busy, right? You can come to compromises. Sometimes it's an insoluble problem and it does need a solution. You just simply cannot do this thing, show up for this thing. And that person trying to reason with you then puts you in this awkward position of like, I want to validate their efforts to accommodate me, but I know what my limits are. And I know if I go past them, I'll be overwhelmed and then I'll be burnt out and I'll have a meltdown. Any kind of adverse reaction we can imagine, it's going to happen. And again, a sort of communication is required here. You have to be upfront and be like, okay, I appreciate you so much accommodating me. I don't think it's going to work because I know when I've done it before, I've had a really bad reaction. And then you can propose an alternative. What about this, or this? We could go do this on the weekend, go to this venue instead, do this time instead, and offer alternatives. But if you persistently don't give an answer, don't even give direct communication, the other person will, sure enough, get frustrated because they are then doing the cognitive and emotional labor of trying to figure out what's going on in this relationship. What is this person trying to communicate to me? Are they trying to communicate anything at all? And they might walk away thinking, you're just not interested in any kind of relationship and I'm not going to try. And the worst thing that can happen is that a friendship will die or an acquaintanceship will fade away because you didn't use direct, explicit communication, advocate for yourself, and try to work towards a compromise with that other person. It's possible, and it's natural that a lot of us, though, will want to dig in our heels and be mentally rigid and be like, nope, I'm going to do this in this very narrow lane. And I can see myself often doing that because the number one reason is I'm trying to protect myself and manage my needs. I know what my needs are. Nobody else is going to protect or manage them. If I don't do it, there'll be a negative response, and then people are going to look at me askance like, why didn't you manage this? You're an adult. Why can't you? So there's often a lot of wisdom built into our desire to be rigid, but we can afford to be flexible if it's with somebody that we know we can trust and will have our best interest at heart. So I would encourage you, if you're feeling uncomfortable about self-advocating and using assertive communication, give it a whirl. Try. If somebody you trust is reaching out to you, let them know. Talk to them. Make it a back and forth. Use your words rather than distancing yourself and just not giving a direct reply. Have you struggled with direct communication? And have you noticed other people who are neurodivergent also struggling with the same communication? Has it led to misunderstandings, frustrations? I would love to hear all about your experiences.